In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. TenexToken puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. TenexToken. Play smart, play discreet. This is Kugan Cassius for IFL TV. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Dave Coldwell. How are you, mate?
Very good, thank you. Very good. How are you?
All good. Showing the guns off there.
Don't know about that. Pea shooters maybe, but it is what it is.
Oh,
Sun's out, guns out, as they say.
that old cliche, yeah. Um, yeah, just thought we'd have a little catch up and talk about some kind of relevant stuff in our beloved but brutal sport of boxing. Um,
Is that right?
yeah, I mean, Dave Allen Fight Week, it's called this week.
Hey,
Which
have you seen the shape he's in?
I know. Yeah.
Mate, where has that been for all these years?
Look, you obviously not just the whole kind of Sheffield thing, but just in general, will agree that David's coming into like maybe a purple patch of his career. I don't know, but he's been around for so long. He's like a veteran now, which is mad to think.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow for Dave. Um, he has a 12-foot monster in front of him this week. But yeah, I mean, yeah, look, Dave. I don't buy all this kind of old now, Dave taking it seriously. It hasn't always gone to plan for Dave, and I just feel like maybe now's his moment.
Listen, I think it's well documented. He said it quite often how in previously in big fights, big opportunities that he's had, he's then said after, I never trained for it, didn't take it seriously. Um, that's always frustrated me. But this last, since the hook up with Jamie Moore, to be fair,
Mm.
I feel as though he's become more professional. He has certainly taken it more seriously. He's perhaps enjoying it a lot more as well, and I think he's been, reaping the benefits of that. And the two Fisher fights, for starters. I mean, performances in those and the fitness levels to be able to keep, because they were hard fights. And despite the end result, Johnny Fisher still landed big bombs on him both to head and body. And you don't take the body shots that Dave Allen was taking in those fights unless you're fit, unless you're very well conditioned. Now he seems to have gone up another gear in terms of. I'd be interested to see what his weight is because he looks very slim. He looks unbelievable. I've never seen him in this sort of shape before. I'm not saying he hasn't been in this sort of shape, but I've never seen him in this sort of shape before. So I'd be interested to see what he weighs, and then also what kind of impact that makes in terms of physical strength, in terms of being able to take, set kind of body shots. But no, aesthetically, he looks fantastic. And like you say, he's in a period of his career now where he's within that touching distance of. He's already changed. Boxing's already changed his life, and he said that beforehand, and it's put him in a really good place. But this is like a whole new world. What lies for him at the end of a W in the column for this fight, what he'll be presented with then and the options that he'll have then is just crazy. You can break into that heavyweight mix right now with Riyadh Season, Ring Magazine. You've cracked it. So he knows what's there. He knows what's on the line, and obviously his preparation. You can see what he's put into it. But on fight night, he'll go and do what he has to do to get the win.
Right, just picking this back up after some Sheffield, not Essex-based Wi-Fi problems.
Definitely Essex. Fuel your plug Wi-Fi. You've got your coat hangers still up on roof, you.
Oi, 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 oi. Um, Eddie Hearn said that he likes Allen and Wilder. What do you think about that?
You, the version of Wilder we've got now, I think anyone would fancy the chances really. Um, a huge scalp, a huge name, and you know the what Wilder's done in his career, and the reputation he's forged isn't the Wilder that we've got now. You know,
Mm.
his balance don't look great. He doesn't look as he's got any strength in his legs. He can't seem to, certainly last couple of fights, especially last fight, didn't look like he could punch off his legs. So therefore, the power's just not the same. So I think why not roll the dice? You know, right? Why not? We haven't seen the scary Deontay Wilder for quite a while, so it could be just the greatest bit of matchmaking.
Mm. Well, look, either way, he's got a job to do on Saturday night.
Yeah,
Before any talk of anyone else, he's got yeah.
yeah, it's a very tough fight. It's a tough fight, but
Yeah.
I will say I fancy him for the win because I do feel as though although he's a giant, the big dude when you put it on him and he starts, getting worked over, I don't think he's got that same sort of grit, determination, and innate toughness that Dave Allen's got.
Mm. Yeah. And I mean, the pressure's on him. I mean, I think they've done 8, 9,000 tickets there in Sheffield this week, and yeah, the pressure's on him. But yeah, these kind of moments, I think Dave thrives on. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, the experience that he's had, the fighters that he's been in with, the underdog tag that he's always had throughout his career. For him to get especially when you think about where his career was, a couple of years back, for him to get basically a homecoming, top of the bill in an arena show that's done well on tickets, for him to get that at this stage of his career, he must be so excited and he must be over the moon with. So, you will see the I think the best version of Dave Allen that we've yet to see. The kid's got a lot of talent. I mean, he's got a lot of miles on the clock and he's got a lot of wear and tear on the clock, I would say, because of the fights that he's taken in the past, the shots that he's taken in the past. So he has got wear and tear on him,
Mm.
but his last couple of fights, he's looked extremely well, and so yeah, I fancy him for the win.
Certainly hope so. Um, a lot going on in boxing at the minute, but yeah, it's kind of a bit of a strange period in boxing at the moment. Very
Very
strange.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
very.
period. There's things happening. There's things on the verge of happening, etc., etc. So, and we'll come on to a couple of them things in a second. But I just want to go back a couple of weeks ago to that Eubank Ben press conference, Dave, which was always entertaining. I'm more looking forward to the Hearn and Eubank altercations in these presses more so than Ben and Eubank. Yeah, that press conference didn't disappoint, did it? A couple of weeks ago.
No, no, it didn't. Listen, with the characters that are up on stage for these fights, it can't fail to hit. These are big personalities that don't like each other, big personalities that are going to clash, big personalities that aren't scared to say what's on the mind. Um, so you're going to get the drama, and Eubank certainly went at it. Um, do I agree with a lot of what he said? No, not particularly on this one. Um, does it sell the fight? Yes. Does it cause the drama and the theatre that we want in boxing? Yeah. And does it get everybody talking about it? Yeah. So I'm all for it. But the rematch, the first fight for me I'm not talking about quality of boxing. I'm talking about pure excitement, drama, tenacity and guts, nuts. That fight had everything.
Mm.
It was incredible, and I felt it's a privilege that I was there watch it. Unbelievable crowd, unbelievable atmosphere, and then for those two to go at it full throttle was just brilliant. And for Eubank to pull out those last 2 rounds, because I thought it was such a great fight, and going into the last 2 rounds, I thought Conor's going to get this, and then it was the last 2 rounds that I give to Eubank that won the fight. Very close fight, but I don't know where he dragged it out of. So all credit to him. So I'm looking forward to the rematch. But I'll tell you what, I think the rematch, whereas I thought Eubank could win the first fight, and he did, I fancy Conor Benn to beat him in the rematch. I think Conor will have learned so much from that fight. Listen, Eubank's been in big fights. He's been in real fights before, whereas Conor's not really. He's been brought up. Everybody he's fought really is supposed to. It's a case of how good does Conor Benn look in this fight, and then he's in a stadium. He's in with the amount of people that are there. He's never experienced anything near that, where the spotlight's on him. I know he's boxed on undercards of stadiums and undercards of AJ maybe, and people, but it's completely different. You're the focal point this time. So for him to deal with all that, plus the obvious pressures that he has, and the magnitude of the fight for the fathers and everything, how it was sold, that'll have took a lot out of him, and he's an emotional kid, and you probably saw that in the fight as well. But I do think now he's experienced that, he's wiser. He'll have taken things out of that fight. He'll be very confident as well because he proved his toughness beyond doubt. Especially at the end of the fight where he's absolutely shattered and his head was bouncing around, but he kept firing back and he showed his toughness. Don't mean to. You can a lot of fighters can be very, very tough early on in the fight when they've still got the whereabouts and they've got the energy. They've still got that vigor of the fight's only in a few rounds in and it's tough. But to go through that kind of fight round after round after round, and when you're absolutely shattered and everything about you in your brain is screaming, I'm fucked, I can't do no more, but you keep dragging it out at that stage of the fight, that's real toughness. And those two, what they did in that fight, unbelievable respect to them both. But going into the rematch, Conor now knows that he can do things like that. He now knows that he can drag it all out. He'll also have the fact that Chris is, another 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is, older, which does have an effect as you get to this sort of stage, which does have an effect when you're making weight. So I just think all in all, I think Conor will learn more from the fight. He'll come back a better fighter. It seems emotionally at the press conference. You were talking about that second press conference where it was all literally it was Eddie and Junior. Conor kind of stayed out of it and was very, very calm. It seems where he knows, perhaps learned that a lot of energy to be wasted through nerves and through tension and through rage, whereas he seems a little bit more level-headed. And if you can keep that going through to fight night and in the fight, then I think Conor can reverse the result.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the question is whether Eubank can be better than what he was in like. There's a lot of talk about kind of there are different ages, different stages of their career, etc. So
Yeah,
I
I think
suppose
that's a big factor.
yeah, and I think the obvious thing, obviously, to think is that Conor Benn can probably be better than what we saw in the first fight, but Eubank where he is, can he be, and is that enough, etc. So I mean. I don't know how this fight plays out. I generally don't know as a rematch at the stage of the career that they're at. Um,
But that's just that there where you say you don't know how it plays out because there's so many permutations in the fight. That's
yeah,
what actually makes it a really good fight.
yeah,
I know there's
I
people that
agree.
are saying we don't need to see a rematch. We don't listen. The first fight was that good, and again, I'm not talking from a technical. I'm talking from an excitement, from a fan's perspective, from two guys. Forget the names,
Mm.
forget the fathers. These two guys just went at each other and just put it all on the line and provided so much entertainment and excitement for everybody that was in that arena, in that stadium, and everybody that watched it. So when you have that, I don't care what the result is. As a fan, as a neutral fan, why wouldn't you want to see that fight again? Because the chances are it's not going to be as great as the first fight. That's what you would always say. When you have a you look at the majority of the great trilogies that we have. It's not often that the rematch is quite as good as the first, but they're very close and they're still better than most of the other options of fights that are out there.
Yeah.
So whether this matches that first fight for intensity and everything, I don't know. But I still believe it's going to be a really good fight. And I still, like you, where you just don't know how the fight's going to play out because of so many different angles you can look at it. You can make cases for both men to win the fight, Like you say, can Chris get any better? If you look at Conor, would you especially those first couple of rounds or so? He was, from what I remember, he was terrible. So
The first 4 rounds or 3 rounds of that fight weren't great. They
no,
they actually wasn't. If people actually watched the whole fight back, the first
yeah,
3 to 4 rounds weren't the best spectacle of that fight. If the fight had gone on in that same way and pace, it wouldn't have been. It picked up dramatically after,
yeah,
I think, fourth
and
round.
just went,
Yeah,
yeah, and just went.
which
But
no one really talks about that kind of the early few rounds. But the first few
but
rounds weren't great. They weren't.
but those first few rounds, you could see the emotion in what Conor was doing.
Yeah.
So he's wild, he was crazy, just swinging away and missing. Now that's what I'm saying about. It seems as though I know it's press conference one and a lot can happen coming up to the fight. But if Conor can keep his emotions in check, then he'll be calmer. He'll be smart because Conor's actually a better boxer than he's given credit for,
Mm.
or he's performed better in terms of boxing in previous fights. He can box a little bit. So if he keeps his emotions in check, then I do think he can box better. He can be technically better. Can Chris? I don't know. I think it's more of the same with Chris. But for me, I know there's a lot being talked about rehydration clause and stuff like that. For me, the issue is the 160. It's not the rehydration. It's the 160, making the 160 at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
That's what I feel is taking away a lot from Eubank's legs in those later rounds. It's not so much the rehydration because Jonathan Banks came out and said that Eubank was well under the rehydration. The rehydration limit I think was £10 something like that. I think it was like £7 or £7 or £8 or something like that. So he was under the second day weigh-in that what he had to be. So it's the 160 that fucked him up, and he's doing the 160 again. I said straight after the fight, if they do a rematch, if he does 160 again, I can't see him. I can't see him winning it. It was just took too much out of his body.
Mm. I know you kind of briefly touched, you didn't agree with some of his comments at the press conference,
No.
but I mean, the 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 wild kind of accusations. I will say they're wild because obviously we don't know the complete ins and outs of it, just from what we're told. But um, I mean, Dave, do you agree that, or not agree, but do you see a situation where Eddie Hearn and Matchroom or whoever are stopping an ambulance from leaving a venue? I mean, I don't listen. I'm not going to specifically make comment on the whole situation. Eubank said what he said, and he's adamant that there was a situation where he believes that he was stopped from leaving the venue to the hospital.
One thing about Chris is what you take from a lot of the stuff that he says. He will say things that makes it look like the world is against him. The world's against him, and he still did this. He still did that. He's always done it. Yeah, and the world. Listen, there's not a chance. I don't care who's against you, what promotion you're on. There's not a chance that a promoter stop it post fight. That a promoter is stopping you from leaving for the hospital. Not a chance. Not post fight. The fight's done with. There's no games done once the fight is over, especially when you're in an hospital. And can I believe that there was a delay on him leaving for the hospital? Yeah, I can. Because have you ever tried to get out of a stadium or an arena when there's 20, 30, 50, 70,000, 100,000 people in attendance? Mate, it's gridlocked. You can't get out. So, how does that's not on the promoter? The pathway to get out and things like that's on the venue. The venue has a you know, they've got backstage area. They've got where they know this is where emergency services will come out, go on. But then you're onto infrastructure of the stadium, of the venue.
Mm.
Nobody can control that if it's clogged up with fans or if it's clogged up with traffic, you know. But certainly not to accuse a promoter, whether it's whatever promoter it is. No promoter's going to do that.
Mm.
No.
Well, look, I spoke to Eddie Hearn probably about 8, 9 days ago. He said the situation could be resolved if Eubank retracts his statement. I get a feeling we're not going to get a retraction from Eubank, but I don't know kind of really what's going on behind the scenes to make complete comment on that. But I mean, yeah,
Listen, Eubank's got a lot of money. And he has Brendan used to call it when you get to a certain stage in life when you got a certain amount of money, he used to call it fuck off money. And I think Eubank's got fuck off money. So he'll probably just say, Sue mate, fuck off, there you go, here's your money. I'm not retracting what I'm saying. Probably. A bit like, when you're just slightly over that weight and you just don't make an effort to make the weight when you're late, you could have done it a bit earlier. You're like, whatever it is, what it is. I'll pay it fines. I think he's got that kind of money where he's not arsed with it.
and he clearly fucking hates Eddie Hearn as well.
100%. So he's not going to apologize, is he? He'll just pay the money, I would imagine.
All right, well, look, the fight is on November the 15th anyway, so I suppose there'll be fun and games up until then. Right, just coming away from that. Yeah, AJ, what do you reckon? I've been out in Nigeria last week. Obviously, everyone in Nigeria, the whole country wants him to come and fight there. Eddie Hearn's kind of spoken about a very high potential of AJ fighting in Africa, which would be interesting, would be very good.
Yeah,
The reality of it, I don't know. I don't know the kind of deep conversations they're having in regards to that. But it looks like AJ will fight. I'll say end of the year, but it's probably going to go into January, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, he's been out for the longest period of time that he's been pro. So it's over a year now since obviously the Dubois fight. Um, these fights are kind of funny to have, aren't they? Because we know that there's potential big fights next year, etc., whether it's Fury, whoever. But the fight they're looking at now, with AJ being out, it's important to match him right as well. Would you agree?
100%. 100%. Because he has to get it right this next time. This is probably, I'm not, you don't know in this day and age, but this could be potentially be the last run, the last throw of the dice. Got to get it right. Got to. Comeback fights got to be something that is marketable, something that AJ can get his teeth into and needs that little bit of fear, that little bit of adrenaline and motivation. Probably not motivation because he's very, very disciplined. He's very, very motivated. I think he's got one of the best attitudes in terms of athlete preparation of anybody, and consistently how he lives his life. So maybe not motivation in that regards, but just that. I think I always feel that fighters, when they used to boxing at a top level, whenever they dip down, they've still got to have. They need that little bit of fear because otherwise they're going a little bit too lackadaisical. So it's got to be the right opponent. And for Africa, and coming off the back of his last couple of performances, I think maybe the time is right to do Bakole. I like that fight,
Yeah.
and I like that fight for a fully conscious and driven and clear thinking Anthony Joshua. I like it. I think it's a really good fight. And, because Bucoli's been the bogeyman of the division for years, but he's shown to his last couple of fights, he hasn't been that great. So therefore, if ever that fight's going to happen, it's probably going to be now.
Yeah, look, with Bacoli, I'll just mention a couple. Obviously, mention a couple of things which I'm pretty certain you'll agree on. I mean, the situation with Joseph Parker was,
Oh no, that's
yeah. Look, he
yeah,
came in as obviously heavier than whatever, and a
yeah,
lot's been made about that, etc. He came in, and it was always going to be to Joseph Parker, who'd been in the full camp, being to his advantage, right? And
yeah.
it's not a dig on Joseph Parker. That was the
No, no,
best fight. I thought this is mental. Getting Bacoli in, I thought at the time. Obviously, it panned out how it did. The FA Jagba fight, I don't think anyone looks good against FA Jagba. I don't.
no, but if you're so I'm with you. The Piccoli thing against Parker, that's a blip, but it's the way that it got done that I think what it is. If it had gone in there and gone 3-4 and gassed out, then fair dues. You've come in at last minute, you've gassed out. We understand it. You were on a beach and but it didn't. It was just over so quick. So that's what makes it more dramatic, more standout. But forget that. But then you were fighting again. You're coming off of that Parker fight. You're like, okay, right, I'll show him. Get back to the real Bacoli. I'll show him. But you come. I mean, his conditioning for that fight weren't much better, from what I remember. I mean, it's a while ago, but it didn't look that great. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying they have been, but if you've kind of like been swerving Bacoli because why do we need that fight? We don't really need him because he's very, very dangerous and he's like looking like a beast. And so if you've been swerving him for a period of time, or just we don't need who needs him club, that's what it is. But then for a fight like this, you think, well, we need something that's gonna get the juices flowing a little bit. He's not really looked great for a while. And we know that in between fights he's not sorting himself out and getting himself in great shape for the next camp. He's not that kind of guy, and he's richer now than what he was when he needed that sort of hunger. So probably the best time to go for a Bacoli is probably now.
Yeah.
And if you're a former couple of times heavyweight champion, and if you're looking to try and become 3 times heavyweight champion and be the man again, if you can't beat Martin Bacoli, then you've that answers your question of are you going to become 3 times heavyweight champion?
Yeah, listen, I don't mind a Bacoli fight. I think that, especially if it's going to happen in Africa, I think
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
if it's going to be in Africa, whether it's Nigeria, Ghana, wherever,
Yeah, I think it's the perfect fight.
I think, yeah, I mean, Congo against Nigeria, I think that obviously does well there. But even after that, I mean, the other opponents being spoken about for Joshua, I'll probably guarantee you that six of them fighters are not more high profile than Martin Bacoli. Like, I don't, if there's 10 fighters, Eddie Hearn said that there's 10
Yeah,
people, just for example, in the equation. If there is 10 people, I don't think there's six more people, more kind of, which commercially sells as well, etc. The whole AJ Bacoli thing. Because
yeah,
I think if Bacoli's fighting AJ, if everyone's got a situation about how heavy he's come in for the last couple of fights, I think Bacoli goes into that with a completely different attitude anyway, in terms
yeah.
of conditioning, weight, etc. So I don't mind that. Like if that was to happen, how realistic this is, Dave, I don't know. You know, but yeah, exciting times. It's exciting times.
Yeah, listen, that'd be an exciting fight. And do you know what? AJ's been out for a long time. Fury's been out for a long time. These are big personalities, big characters, and just listening to both those guys speak when they're coming up to fights, does numbers. People are engaged. People are looking forward to him. People can say whatever they want and say, "Oh, they're over the hill. They're not the same fighters." Rah rah. But they're still hugely relevant, and there's still big driving factors about them when it comes down to boxing fans and general public and mainstream people. So we need them. Boxing always moves on, but you always want to hang on to your superstar names for as long as you can while you can.
Yeah, and also it's heavyweight boxing. I mean,
Yeah,
look, Derek Chisora is going to fight this year in his 50th fight.
yeah,
Derek Chisora's had, what, 12, 13 losses in his career and
yeah,
can still sell out the O2 or wherever else and
yeah,
etc. It's heavyweight boxing and yeah, people kind of just they
yeah.
buy. Listen, regardless of whether you've had losses or not, it's like you or me. Like we're interested in
Yeah.
probably so.
Listen, regardless whether AJ's had loss or not, there's a lot of there's a lot of disrespect put on his name. You got to forget. You can't forget what the man's done in his career. How old he was when he started boxing. He's not a natural, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but he's not a natural fighter in the terms of a kid that's been in the gym since he was 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, come through boxers as a junior, do you understand? He was. We all know he came in late. What he's achieved in that short period of time is phenomenal, and what he's done for the sport is phenomenal. And fighters that have come through on the back of it. Um, and also from a boxing point of view, from a boxing fans point of view, even if you're not a fan of it, because there's kind of like a divide. A lot of people are either Team AJ or Team Fury. But even if you're Team Fury or you just don't like AJ or whatever, or you want to knock him because he's been beat a few times, right? The guy's exciting. Look at the majority of his fights throughout his career. Whether he's won or he's lost, they're exciting fights. That's the thing. He's an exciting fighter. So in a world where we're looking for entertainment, in a world where people want that adrenaline rush, when you're ringside for an AJ fight, or if you're in the crowd for an AJ fight and the atmosphere's going and the buzz and you don't know whether he's going to knock the guy out or he's going to get knocked out, that adds to your night out. That adds to your value for your money that you've paid out for. So if while ever he wants to box, I think he's always going to be a draw.
Hmm. I think it's a different conversation to have, but yeah, I do think like disrespect what you said a couple of minutes ago. Just the disrespect on Anthony Joshua, not from everyone, but
No, no,
like there's a proportion of people that love to hate on Anthony Joshua, but the reality of what he's done since he turned pro, since he won gold, the country from a boxing standpoint would be at a completely different place to where it is now had Joshua not been there.
100%.
And I don't think that's like even a guess. That's fucking obvious.
Yeah.
I know it takes two to tango. And we've had Fury run alongside AJ in.
But we've had this is the thing. We've had such a real good period of boxing for British boxing, British heavyweight boxing, because you've had the AJ days, right? And you've had AJ bringing his group of not fan, but bringing a massive appeal for the mainstream for how he's been and what he's done. But then on the flip side, a completely different walk of life and walk of different type of people. Fury's open the door to, your average guys that aren't body beautiful, guys that are just normal, not gym goers, don't keep fit. Don't when you've seen AJ posting his videos and he's in fantastic shape all the time and he's doing his sessions and stuff like that. There's an element of people there that look up to AJ and want to be like that. Then there's an element of people that are like a Tyson Fury, apart from they can't fight as well. But they look at themselves as a Tyson Fury and go, do you know what? I've had these struggles. I've had these mental health problems. I've been on benders. I've not looked out for myself. I've come back from brink. He's opened himself up to them. And then there's the guys that are just your dad bod guys that look at somebody like Tyson Fury and it gives them inspiration. So we've had a real lucky period where two different personalities, different characters that appeal to two different
Yeah.
type of people have been around at the same time. So boxing as a whole, all these people have come together as a sport, and it's been massive and it's been brilliant. But now we're coming to an age where we're about to say goodbye to these guys because they're not going to be around for long. You know, we've seen. I saw something where this is the first time or the longest period where both fighters at the same time haven't fought. Um,
I'm the only one that said this, just so people know. Sorry to stop
all
you.
right, fucking hell, got a bit
No,
excited with
but
that one, mate.
I pointed this
Hand
out.
to God and all that shit.
Yeah, no, hand to God. I pointed this out a few weeks ago. I've heard no one say it. I said this will be the first year that since both of them turned professional,
Well,
Fury.
that's where I saw it. Then I'm not claiming copyright.
No,
That's where I saw it. Then.
that's a point in British boxing that the last
Yeah,
however many years since, let's go from 2012. I know Fury turned pro before that, but 2012, since then, it's the first year that we're not going to see most likely
yeah,
from Fury fighting a year, and it makes a difference to British boxing. If people can't see that,
exactly.
generally, but that's the point. I know that because I know that every year I'm looking at, right, so Fury fought twice, or Fury
Yeah,
fought once, AJ fought once, rah, rah, rah. This year's the first year we're going to have
yeah.
2025.
And that tells you it's like that tells you we're coming towards the end of that era. Obviously, I think obviously that era of them dominating and being, I think that's gone anyway. But we're coming towards the end of the era where we have these dramas between them and will they or won't they? And it's coming towards the end, and it's quite a sad time. I've you know my time in boxing, I've seen so many huge superstars that we've got retire, and you're looking around for the next one, and then the next one comes and they retire. Now this is this is the biggest rivalry. This is the the
It needs a conclusion.
oh, definitely, definitely, and I think it'd be the perfect way for them both to swan off into the sunset. Really,
Yeah,
if they have a big showdown.
and then when they retire, we'll have Moses Tama dominate for the next 10 years.
Looking at yeah,
um, Dave, just want to finish off by talking about Ricky Hatton. We know Ricky Hatton's funeral is on this Friday, the
yeah,
10th, in Manchester. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult week and a difficult day, I think, for a lot of people in boxing, and obviously his close family and friends, etc. But yeah, I think Manchester is going to come to a standstill on Friday.
yeah. It's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be something where I feel it's gonna be one of those occasions, one of those sites where it's incredibly sad and it's gut wrenching, but also it, it's going to be lovely, beautiful to see the outpouring of respect and love that people have for Ricky. You know, when you see the crowds, every one of them, every person that's going to be in those crowds that's going to be lined up um, to pay the respects for Ricky, and out in Manchester, I think when we see that, he'll be looking down, please God, just thinking, wow, because he knew he was popular, he knew that everybody loved him, but what's going to happen on Friday is going to be something extraordinary. It really is. But you're not talking about a head of state, a king or a queen. You're talking about a sportsman that brought everybody together. You know, an incredible, incredible kid that was just a normal kid that dragged himself through and was just every time he fought, he created so much energy in the crowd. And I was there when he beat Costa Zoo. That was unbelievable. That was fantastic. Unbelievable electricity in the crowd. Um, but everybody loved him, and he was just. I've said before the way that I see Ricky and the way that I remember Ricky is that whenever I was in his presence, whether it was at his gym, my gym, when I bumped into him on a night out in Manchester. I've been out with him plenty of times in Manchester. Me and my wife would be out, and after a show, you end up bumping into him, and then he's inviting you along, and you're part of his night out. He was always it was just fun. You're walking through the door in his gym, he's cracking jokes straight away. Taking a piss out of you, taking a piss out of himself, whatever. He's just a fun kid. So that's what the world's lost. The world's lost a lot of fun because he was just the funniest kid out. And Friday's going to be very emotional, mate. It's going to be. I mean, I can't. I can't even begin to feel for his family and his kids and you know his close friends. It's just awful because from a fan's point of view and from somebody who just knew him point of view, um, it's awful. So for them, I just yeah, I just send all my love to them all for Friday and yeah, it's going to be for a spectacle and for Ricky looking down. I think he'll you know it'll really hit home from it. It'll be beautiful, mate. It will. I just know it will be.
Yeah, listen, wherever he is on Friday, I hope he's watching down and seeing what will no doubt be. I dread to think how many people are gonna
Yeah,
be there. I mean that in a nice way, obviously, but yeah, I hope he. I think he does. I think kind of Ricky over the years kind of knew
yeah.
he's been retired really for 16 years minus the Senchenko fight, but he's been a retired boxer for that long. I think he knows. I think Ricky knew, what people thought of him,
Oh, without doubt.
which is no obviously kind of factor to whatever happened. But I think Ricky knew. I think he did know that. I don't think in our lifetime, Dave, we're in our 40s, Dave. Actually, you in your 50s.
50s, mate.
All right, so you're not in my group.
No, I've moved up a
I,
group. I'm,
no,
I'm,
but
I'm in the corner.
I don't think in our lifetime Ricky Hatton gets like replaced as. I know we've had boxers with big fan bases. We've had a few, not loads
Not,
actually,
not to this
not
level.
to that extent.
Not, not to,
I
not
don't
to
think in our
30,
lifetime.
20, not to 25, 30,000 people coming over to America just to watch him in a fight.
Yeah, no, to a venue that holds 16 and a half hours
Yeah,
at the MGM, no.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think in our lifetime, and if we do ever come across somebody that does do that, we're very lucky.
yeah.
I don't think that we in our lifetime, which is hopefully for the next 100 years, whatever it is, I don't think we find a Ricky Hatton. I don't. I think you look at the boxers that have kind of fought in America, they've gone there and fought there, and a lot of people have done well there. Kell Brook went to America and had the best night of his life against Sean Porter. But this is a guy that did this like relentlessly over years and took those traveling fans. I don't think we see that in our lifetime. Hopefully there is. Hopefully there is somebody that comes and takes 20,000, 30,000 people to Vegas. I hope there is. But yeah, I don't think Ricky Hatton will ever be replaced in our generation.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, listen, Dave, much appreciate your time. We probably could have spoke for another half hour, to be honest, but I know we've both got kids, but yeah, you probably have to.
I've got to take my little boy to Mansfield training
I
now.
knew you was going to say something. One of them. If it ain't Brooke out DJing in Ibiza, it's
And she just released a track day before yesterday, I think it was. She's got a
yeah.
track out now. She's doing really well on Spotify. She's doing
Oh.
well.
I just think of DJs in Ibiza, I think of Eyeball Paul, and Kevin and Perry. Um, but yeah, no, she's doing amazing stuff, and obviously your boy's obviously going to be the next. I don't know what position does he play?
Centre mid.
Next Roy Keane.
He wouldn't mind that, mate. Trust me.
All right, so you've got two contrasting careers going on with your kids. Good luck,
Yeah.
Dave. No doubt I'll see you on Friday, and
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll catch up at some point over the weekend.
Okay, mate. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dave Coldwell.
Yeah.
In this sport, you don't wait for judges to decide your fate. TenexToken puts you in control. Stake instantly, speculate discreetly, and keep your moves private. TenexToken. Play smart, play discreet.